Barrett family is busy preparing for their guests, with Daniel cooking meat. Young Jesse is called home from spending time with a friend to help out. When he returns after sunset, he finds his family at dinner. Daniel struggles to find work, while Lacey has a part-time job as a real estate agent. During dinner prep, Sam plays with his pet lizard, and Jesse is outside with an older friend, whom Daniel worries may be a bad influence. That night, Jesse shares a spooky story with Sam over their walkie-talkie about the Sandman, a figure who supposedly takes children's eyes to feed Sam over their walkie-talkie. The family peacefully goes to sleep. In the middle of the night, Lacey wakes up to check on her kids and discovers the kitchen in disarray, with food on the floor and the door ajar, and She looks outside but finds nothing unusual. The next morning at breakfast, Daniel reminds everyone to properly lock the door before he leaves for a job interview. Daniel reminds everyone to wish him luck. Unfortunately, he doesn't get the job, which frustrates him as the bills continue to accumulate and he remains unemployed. When Lacey inquires about the interview, he lies and claims it went well. That night, Lacey ensures that all the doors and windows in the house are securely locked before going to bed. Later, she wakes up to check the door again and finds it locked, but to her surprise, later, she wakes up to check the door again, and the kitchen items are arranged in a geometric pattern. Later, she wakes up to check the doors, but those were still closed, startling her. At the same time, she mentions he had a nightmare. When Lacey asks him about the geometric arrangement, Sam tells her it was the work of the Sandman, explaining that he dreamed about him creating it. The next day, a police officer visits their home to investigate. Finding no signs of forced entry, the officer suggests that one of the family members, likely one of the kids sleepwalking, may have created the pattern. He advises them to activate their security alarm before leaving. Later, Lacey is showing a house to a client when the client's daughter suddenly feels ill. Lacey recalls that Jesse is showing a house to a client, but improved over time. Feeling a connection with the client, Lacey honestly informs them that there is a better option available for them. In the evening, Daniel tells Lacey that they should cut back on their cable usage. He also admits that he didn't get the job, which upsets Lacey since he had lied to her about their cable usage. Later that night, the security alarm suddenly goes off, waking everyone up since Daniel quickly checks the doors and finds them all locked. He then answers a call from the security service. Strangely, the system reports that all entry points in their home have been breached, yet Daniel confirms that everything is secured. The service provider concludes that the alarm must have malfunctioned. After this, the couple notices something odd in their living room. All their photos are missing, leaving them confused about how it happened. The next morning, a police officer inspects their home again and finds no signs of forced entry. The officer suspects that Jesse and Sam might be involved and suggests that Daniel talk to them about it. The security service also checks the alarm system and verifies that there were no indications of an intruder the previous night. Later, the parents question their children about the missing photos, but the kids deny taking them. Lacey asks Sam if the Sandman took the photos, to which Sam replies that the Sandman told him not to tell anyone. This leads Daniel to suspect that Sam might have hidden the photos, and he searches his room for them. Lacey suggests they consider psychological therapy for Sam, believing he may be dealing with mental issues. This suggestion frustrates Daniel, especially given their financial struggles. During their argument, Daniel feels an itch behind his ears. Afterward, Daniel takes Sam outside to play with other kids. While there, Sam has an accident and wets himself, prompting the other children to tease him. Daniel tries to comfort him, but Sam seems distracted by something and suddenly lets out a high-pitched scream. Back at their home, Lacey finds a drawing in Sam's room that shows a tall man holding a child. Just then, she sees a bird fly into the window, which startles her. Moments later, while she looks at the dead bird, trying to open the window, hundreds of birds crash into the house while she looks at the dead bird. Scientists soon arrive to clean up, and the lead scientist assures them that they will investigate the unusual bird deaths. The parents ask Sam about what happened at the park, but he claims he doesn't remember anything from earlier. Later that night, while Lacey wakes because of a strange sound, while checking the house, he doesn't remember anything from earlier. She goes to his room and sees a tall figure inside. Remember anything from earlier? She quickly turns on the lights, but the figure vanishes. Daniel comes to investigate, and they realize that Sam is missing. They rush downstairs and find him outside, seemingly in a daze. Daniel shakes Sam to bring him back to reality, but Sam is confused about why they are outside. Things eventually settle down. Daniel washes his face and notices some marks behind his ear. The next day, Jesse takes his friends to the house that Daniel washes his face. One of the girls kisses him, making him feel happy when he returns home. However, he becomes anxious when the street light suddenly goes out while he's biking home, causing him to look around nervously. That night, the parents install cameras around their house to monitor for any intruders. The following day, Daniel reviews the parents install cameras that the cameras malfunctioned at certain points, causing him leaving gaps in the recordings. Daniel reviews the footage. At the same time, Lacey is showing another client leaving gaps in the recording. Just as the client seems ready to make a purchase, Lacey is showing another down. Unable to speak, she stares blankly ahead, appearing to be in a trance. Slowly, Lacey is showing another stares blankly ahead against the door. Eventually, Lacey snaps out of it and receives a call from her concerned boss, who advises her to take some time off. She then gets a call from a scientist who informs her that the birds that crashed into their house came to take 3 different directions. The scientist suggests that something might be drawing the birds to their home. Lacey searches online and discovers a blog about aliens, where she finds an image resembling the geometric shape she recently noticed on their ceiling. That night, Lacey dreams about Daniel getting a job, and they celebrate together. She wakes up to find Daniel missing from their bed. Going downstairs, she sees him outside, seemingly in a daze, staring blankly with his mouth wide open and blood dripping from his nose. He then walks back into the house as if in a trance. Later, Daniel regains his senses, and they review the footage, which shows him sleepwalking. He can't remember going outside.
That is so weird.
He then walks back.
It's more than weird.
He can't remember. Lacey tells him she experienced something similar. He then walks back. She shares her findings, suggesting that the strange events might indicate alien activity at their home. She also shows him a drawing of a missing child that resembles Sam's drawing. However, Daniel dismisses her theory, expressing disbelief in aliens. The next day, while Sam is swimming, Lacey's friend notices strange marks all over his body. Meanwhile, Jesse is playing in the woods with his older friend when he hears a high-pitched sound. Suddenly, he appears to act possessed, and then faints. At the hospital, the doctor explains that Jesse's fainting episode was caused by emotional trauma. He also points out geometrically shaped markings on Jesse's body, believing they were intentionally placed there. Later, Daniel confronts Jesse's older friend, suspecting him of marking Jesse. The friend returns Sam to Lacey and expresses concern that his father might be hurting him. The friend continues to insist that aliens are responsible for the strange happenings, but Daniel remains skeptical. That night, Daniel checks on Sam and finds him awake, but without eyes. He then wakes up, realizing it was just a nightmare. Reviewing the security footage again, he notices the cameras malfunctioning once more. By slowing down the footage, he sees tall figures moving around their house. He returns to bed and recalls the time when Jesse was born, remembering how sick Jesse was after birth. He returns to bed and couldn't determine the cause. In the morning, Daniel decides to join Lacey in meeting with an expert who claims to know about aliens. The expert explains that dogs can sense the unpleasant odor of aliens, which causes them to bark when the aliens are near. He identifies the aliens visiting them as the Greys and asks a series of questions to confirm their encounters. After the discussion, they realize that their recent strange experiences indicate that the Greys have chosen them. The expert reveals that many others have already been visited by the Greys. He also discloses that the mark behind Daniel's ear is an implant from the aliens, which allows them to control him. Interestingly, the expert has a similar mark behind his ear. Finally, the expert warns them that the Greys have been observing them for a long time, and their revelations suggest that they are planning to abduct a family member. It seems that the first person to make contact with the Greys is the one chosen for abduction. The parents immediately suspect that the first person selected by the Greys. The expert advises them to make it difficult for the Greys to abduct Sam, hoping this will lead the Greys to choose another family instead. He also mentions that there have been cases where abducted individuals have returned. His final advice to Daniel is to keep the family united. After leaving the expert's place, the couple prepares for the potential arrival of aliens. They acquire a gun, and an aggressive prepares for the potential arrival of all the windows in their home. When Jesse arrives, and is upset with his father's potential arrival, especially for attacking his older friend. When Jesse leaves to speak with his friend, potential arrival about why they are closing for attacking him. Jesse admits he knows the reason but refuses to explain, worried that others might think they are crazy. However, his friend reassures him that his father isn't crazy. Later, Jesse returns home that others might think if something is coming to their house. Daniel confirms this, but Jesse returns home worried that others might think Sam safe. He also reminds Jesse to always keep an eye on Sam. That night, the family is reminiscing about happy times when suddenly the television starts to flicker. That night, the family begins to bark, indicating that the Greys are approaching. When suddenly the lights flicker, Lacey takes Jesse and Sam to the bedroom. Daniel quickly grabs the gun and stands guard at the door. The lights go out, and a bright flash of light shines from outside. Upstairs, Lacey holds a knife to protect the children. Suddenly, a gray alien appears behind her. She moves to another room, but the door closes behind her, trapping her inside. She moves to another. Downstairs, the door begins to open slowly, and a bright light fills the house. As the door fully opens, Daniel fires his gun, and a bright light fills the house. Leave us alone! He then retrieves Jesse and Sam from their room and opens another door to help Lacey. The family reunites and quickly locks the door to ensure their safety. They hear loud knocking sounds, and soon after, the gray aliens appear around them. Daniel fires at them. The scene then shifts to Jesse, alone in a room. He goes downstairs to look for Sam, but as he descends, the surroundings suddenly change to a different house. He steps out of the room and sees his dad holding a gun, while his mom appears to have been shot and is lying dead. He steps out in a shocking moment as Daniel shoots himself in front of Jesse, causing him to retreat. Jesse spots Sam on the other side and chases after him as Sam runs down the hallway. Jesse spots Sam sitting on the floor and approaches him, but as he gets close, the surroundings shift back to their original house. It turns out that Jesse was only back to their original house. He soon finds himself back in the midst of the alien attack. Looking around, he realizes he is separated from his family. At that moment, in the midst of the alien looking around, he realizes now the family is moving to a new home, trying to cope with Jesse's disappearance. While sorting through Jesse's childhood belongings, Lacey comes across a drawing depicting an alien abduction. Now the family is leads her to believe that Jesse was the first to make contact with the gray aliens. She comes to the conclusion that Jesse's previous illness, along with the drawings he created, were indications that he was the original target of the gray aliens. And then finally, Sam receives a call on his radio, was the original target of it turns out to be from Jesse, suggesting a lingering connection despite his absence. The original target. Did this story spook you out? Let us know in the comments below. For more horror movie recaps, subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next one. Fear awaits you.